Imagine this. You meet a woman, you talk to her, you show her kindness, attention, maybe even a bit of charm. Yet something feels off. She doesn't seem impressed. Her replies are short, her interest feels low, and the more you try, the further she seems to drift away. Frustrating, isn't it? You're giving her your best, and she's still distant. Most men would stop there, assuming she simply isn't interested. But then something unexpected happens. You pull back, you stop sending those constant messages, you focus on yourself a little more. And suddenly, her behavior shifts. She starts asking questions. She checks in with you first. She lingers a little longer in conversation, almost as if she's chasing you. Why? What changed? The answer lies deep in psychology. Not in looks, not in money, not even in confidence. It's in something invisible. Something that works on the mind at a level most people don't even recognize. Psychologists at the University of Virginia and Harvard once ran an experiment that revealed something fascinating. Women were shown profiles of different men. Some were told the men liked them a lot. Some were told the men were only so-so interested. And a third group wasn't told anything. They didn't know whether those men liked them or not. Guess which group of women reported the highest level of attraction? It wasn't the ones who knew the men liked them. It was the ones left uncertain, the women who didn't know. Their minds filled the gap with possibility, curiosity, imagination. That very uncertainty became the spark that made them lean in. And this is where the truth begins to unfold. Attraction doesn't always start with certainty. Sometimes it's the mystery, the tension, the challenge that awakens interest where there was none. Now imagine what happens when you understand these hidden triggers, when you know exactly how to use psychology, not games, but principles backed by science, to shift dynamics completely. When you know how to activate that switch in a woman's mind so she begins to lean toward you, to pursue you. In this video, we're going to break it all down. The research, the stories, and the practical steps that reveal how attraction works at a deeper level than most men will ever realize. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might change everything you thought you knew about women and desire. Here's the reality. Most men spend their lives chasing women. They text too much, they call too often, they try harder and harder to win her attention. And what happens? She pulls away. She ignores the effort. And he's left wondering why giving more only seems to push her further. But here's the question that flips everything. What if it didn't have to be this way? What if instead of chasing, she started chasing you? Imagine what that would do for your confidence. Imagine what it would mean for your relationships, your sense of control, and the way you see yourself. Because here's the truth. Rejection isn't always about you not being enough. More often, it's about not understanding how attraction truly works in the female mind. Once you understand the psychology, once you see the patterns, the rules, the triggers, you stop chasing and start becoming the man she doesn't want to lose. And that's what this video is about. I'll guide you step by step through the science, the stories, and the real-world strategies that explain why women chase some men and ignore others. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll see attraction in a completely different light. Let's start with the brain. Why is it that some men pull women in effortlessly, while others, no matter how hard they try, seem to push women away? The answer isn't luck, and it isn't random. It's rooted in biology, psychology, and the way the female mind is wired to respond to certain signals. At the heart of attraction lies a chemical called dopamine. Often called the feel-good neurotransmitter, dopamine is what lights up the brain when we anticipate something exciting. It's not the reward itself that excites the brain, it's the possibility of it. Think about that. It's the chase, the uncertainty, the anticipation that releases the most powerful surges of dopamine. That's why mystery pulls people in, and predictability often pushes them away. In fact, studies in neuroscience show that the brain's reward system doesn't respond most strongly to guaranteed outcomes. It responds most strongly to variable ones. This is the same principle behind why people get hooked on slot machines. You don't know if the next pull will be the jackpot, and that uncertainty keeps you coming back. In the same way, a woman doesn't chase the man who makes himself too available. She chases the one who creates just enough uncertainty to spark curiosity and imagination. This is what psychologists call the scarcity principle. The rarer something is, the more value we place on it. If a man's attention is constant, overflowing, always available, the mind registers it as abundant, and therefore less valuable. But when attention is rare, when it must be earned, when it comes in moments instead of floods, that's when it matters. That's when her brain tells her, this man is worth chasing. There's also what many psychologists refer to as the investment effect. Research shows that people value more highly the things they've worked for. When a woman has to invest energy, thought, and even a little effort into winning your attention, her brain assigns more value to you. She isn't just interested in you, she's invested in you, and the more invested she becomes, the harder it is for her to let go. Think about this in real life. Imagine two men texting the same woman. One is always available, instantly replying, showering her with compliments. The other responds thoughtfully, but not instantly, and he reveals things about himself slowly, like chapters of a story. Which one will keep her awake at night, checking her phone, replaying conversations in her head? It's rarely the one who gave it all away too soon. It's the one who left room for her imagination, her curiosity, and her desire to close the gap. And this is the paradox. Attraction is not about constant certainty. It's about managed uncertainty. It's about creating just enough space for the female mind to wonder, to think, to chase. But science is only part of the story. Because while the brain explains the mechanisms, in the real world, attraction plays out in ways that are far messier, more emotional, and more human. And that's where the stories begin. Science gives us the framework, but the real weight of these ideas shows up in human stories. Moments where attraction shifts in ways that leave people stunned. Let's start with a confession. On a popular women's forum, one woman admitted something she herself didn't fully understand. She wrote, "There was a guy who treated me like a queen. He texted me constantly, gave me compliments every day, and was always available whenever I needed him. At first, I thought I wanted that, but slowly, my attraction faded. Then, there was another guy who was harder to read. He showed interest, but not always. Some days he was warm, other days more distant. I couldn't stop thinking about him. I checked my phone waiting for his messages. I obsessed over what he felt. I chased him, and I couldn't explain why." Stories like this sound unfair to men who do everything right. You give kindness, attention, effort, yet somehow it doesn't land. And then, the man who gives less, who reveals himself slowly, who creates that psychological tension, he's the one who holds her mind captive. It's confusing. It feels unjust. But it reveals how attraction isn't a choice. It's a response written in psychology. This pattern isn't new. In fact, history has shown us the same truth again and again. Consider Cleopatra, the last queen of ancient Egypt. She was described not only as beautiful, but as a master of presence and mystery. Historians like Plutarch wrote that her charm wasn't in her looks alone, but in the way she created allure. She never gave herself away too quickly. Even Julius Caesar, and later Mark Antony, two of the most powerful men of their age, were drawn into her orbit. Why? Because Cleopatra understood the psychology of scarcity and challenge. Her attention was rare. Her affection was unpredictable. Her value wasn't in being available, but in being desired. And it made men with entire empires at their command chase after her. And the same truths appear in modern experiments. In a well-known dating study, women were asked to rate men after brief interactions. The men who scored the highest weren't necessarily the best looking, or the wealthiest, or the most generous. The ones who stood out were those who projected confidence, who gave subtle signals that they were valued by others, what psychologists call social proof. In other words, women didn't just see the man in front of them, they saw him through the lens of how the world treated him. The more others seemed to want him, the more attractive he became. Taken together, these stories show the same invisible pattern. Availability without challenge weakens attraction. Mystery, scarcity, and perceived value ignite it. And this leaves many men asking the painful question, why did I lose her when I gave her everything? The answer lies in the myths we're told about women and attraction. Myths that seem comforting, but that lead men into the exact behaviors that sabotage desire. And it's time we break them. By now you can see the pattern. Men chase, they overinvest, they try to prove their worth, and often it backfires. Why? Because many of us have been taught myths about women that sound comforting, but secretly destroy attraction. Let's break them down. Myth number 1, women want constant attention. Think about the friend who checks in every hour, who floods her phone with good morning texts, who never gives her a moment of space. At first, it feels flattering, but over time, it drains the mystery. Psychologists call this the reward system fatigue. When something is always available, the brain stops valuing it. In fact, a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that uncertainty in romantic interactions actually increased attraction. Women reported stronger feelings when they weren't entirely sure where they stood with a man compared to when they knew he was fully available. In simple terms, constant attention feels safe, but it kills the spark. Myth number 2, women only chase bad boys. This one frustrates good men everywhere. They think, so I have to be rude, careless, or even toxic to keep her interest. The truth is different. Women don't chase cruelty, they chase confidence. They don't want disrespect, they want boundaries. A man who says no, who values his own time, who doesn't collapse at every request, that man signals self-worth. And self-worth is magnetic. There's a powerful difference here. The so-called bad boy often gets attention, not because of his flaws, but because he naturally embodies traits of independence, unpredictability, and self-prioritization. A healthy man with boundaries can command the same attraction, without the pain and drama. Myth number 3, if she's not interested now, she never will be. Many men give up too quickly. They assume attraction is instant, and if it doesn't spark in the first moment, it never will. But psychology tells a different story. Research from the University of Texas showed that repeated exposure to someone, even someone who wasn't initially appealing, can increase attraction over time. This is called the mere exposure effect. In plain words, the more she sees you, the more familiar and safe you feel, and the more her brain may begin to assign value. Countless relationships have begun this way. She wasn't interested at first, but over weeks or months, as she experienced his confidence, his boundaries, his presence, attraction grew. And suddenly, the man she overlooked became the one she couldn't stop thinking about. So, let me ask you directly, have you ever experienced this yourself? Was there someone you didn't like at first, but slowly grew attracted to later? Share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. Because once we see through these myths, we're left with the real question. If attention, chasing, and instant chemistry don't hold the key, then what does? And that's exactly where we're going next. Because the psychology of attraction has a hidden switch, one that, once flipped, makes her chase you. And few men ever learn how it works. Up until now, we've uncovered the myths, the research, and the stories that show why men chase and why it rarely works. But here's the turning point. Because female psychology holds a set of triggers that can flip the script. These triggers are subtle, powerful, and when used with intention, they can make her invest in you, think about you, and yes, chase you. Let's break them down. Trigger number 1, scarcity. Human beings place higher value on things that are limited, and women are no different. When you give unlimited access to your time and energy, you communicate that it has little worth. But when your attention is selective, it becomes precious. Psychologists call this the scarcity principle. In one classic experiment, people rated cookies from a nearly empty jar as far more desirable than identical cookies from a full jar. The cookies hadn't changed, but their perceived value had. Think of this in relationships. The man who is always available versus the one whose time is clearly valuable. The second man, without saying a word, signals worth. Trigger number 2, challenge. Attraction thrives on effort. When she has to work a little for your attention, when your approval isn't given instantly, her brain activates the reward system. This is why promotions feel so rewarding. We earn them. The same applies to romance. A famous study at Stanford showed that people value goals more when they require effort. The harder the climb, the sweeter the view. The same principle works here. Make her invest, and she'll value the connection more. Trigger number 3, unpredictability. The human brain craves novelty. Small surprises, whether it's a message that arrives at an unexpected time, a spontaneous change in plans, or a playful response instead of the expected one, activate dopamine, the neurotransmitter of pleasure and motivation. In behavioral psychology, this is called variable reward. Slot machines are addictive, not because they always pay out, but because you never know when they will. In relationships, this doesn't mean being unreliable. It means mixing consistency with moments of surprise, so she never feels the script is too predictable. Trigger number 4, social proof. People naturally assign value based on how others respond. A man respected, admired, or even lightly pursued by other women is seen as more desirable. This isn't manipulation, it's human nature. Psychologist Robert Cialdini, in his research on influence, showed how strongly social proof drives decision-making. When others want something, we assume it has value. In romance, this explains why a man who is seen as valuable in his community, respected in his circle, or admired by peers, often draws women in without even trying. Trigger number 5, emotional connection. Beyond mystery, beyond scarcity, there is one trigger that lasts longer than all the rest: being understood. Women chase men who make them feel seen, heard, and emotionally safe. Because while physical attraction may open the door, emotional intimacy keeps her from walking away. Studies from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships reveal that emotional validation, feeling understood and accepted, is one of the strongest predictors of long-term attraction. In other words, if you can combine confidence with genuine empathy, you become unforgettable. Now, here's the catch. These triggers aren't magic tricks. They can backfire if used without balance. Too much scarcity, and you look distant. Too much unpredictability, and you look unreliable. Too much challenge, and you look dismissive. The real secret lies in application. How do you combine these triggers in a way that feels natural, not forced? Because knowing them isn't enough. You have to live them, breathe them, and apply them with intention. And in the next part, that's exactly what we'll uncover: the real-world strategies to use these triggers in your daily life without pushing her away. We've talked about the psychology, the science, and the triggers that make a woman chase. But theory means nothing if you don't know how to use it in daily life. So, let's make this practical. Here are 5 steps you can start applying immediately. Step 1, stop chasing. This doesn't mean ignoring her or playing games. It means pulling back just enough to let her feel your absence. If you're always the one initiating, always the one reaching out, pause. Give her space to wonder what you're doing. Remember, attraction grows in the gaps you leave behind. Step 2, build scarcity by investing in yourself. Women are drawn to men who have their own lives, passions, and goals. If she senses that all your energy revolves around her, the balance tips. But when you're pursuing your fitness, your career, your friendships, your life outside of her, that's when she leans in. Scarcity isn't about ignoring her. It's about showing her that your time is valuable because you're valuable. Step 3. Create challenge through boundaries. Attraction fades quickly when there are no standards. If she cancels last minute without explanation, don't reward the behavior with instant forgiveness and extra effort. Calmly communicate your boundaries. A man who values himself is more attractive than one who bends at every turn. Boundaries aren't barriers, they're signals of self-respect. Step 4. Add unpredictability. This doesn't mean being erratic or unreliable. It means weaving in small changes that keep her engaged. If you always text her in the morning, skip a day and surprise her at night. If your dates usually follow a pattern, dinner, then a movie, switch it up with something unexpected, like a cooking class or a walk under the stars. These small surprises release dopamine, keeping her emotionally invested. Step 5. Deepen connection. Beyond the push and pull, what truly makes a woman chase is emotional intimacy. Practice active listening. Really hear her words, not just wait for your turn to speak. Ask questions that dig beneath the surface. Share your own vulnerabilities. Studies show that mutual self-disclosure builds closeness faster than almost anything else. When she feels understood by you, she'll invest more of herself into you. Let's bring this into a concrete example. Imagine you're texting a woman. She sends, "Hey, what are you up to?" The typical man replies instantly, "Not much, just bored. What about you?" It's safe, predictable, and gives her no reason to chase. But a man who understands female psychology replies differently. Maybe he takes a little longer because he's genuinely busy. When he does reply, it's something light and intriguing. Just wrapped up a workout, trying to decide if I should reward myself with pizza or pretend to be disciplined. What's your vote? Notice the difference? He's showing he has a life, he's playful, he invites her into the conversation with a choice. That little shift makes her invest. And the more she invests, the more she chases. So let me ask you, would you like me to create an entire video breaking down texting strategies that make women chase, word for word? Drop a comment below and let me know. Because trust me, once you see how small adjustments change the dynamic, you'll never go back to the old way. We've covered a lot in this video. We started with the science, the dopamine triggers, the scarcity principle, the chase mechanism. We walk through real stories, from anonymous confessions to Cleopatra's timeless allure. We exposed the myths that hold men back. And then, we revealed the psychological triggers that flip the script before translating them into step-by-step actions you can use in your life right now. But here's what I want you to take away. Attraction isn't about tricks, games, or manipulation. It's about understanding psychology and becoming the man whose presence is too valuable to ignore. When you live with purpose, when you set boundaries, when you bring mystery, confidence, and emotional connection, you stop chasing. You stop begging for attention. Instead, you become the man she doesn't want to lose. And that shift changes everything. Now, if this opened your eyes, you'll want to see what's coming next. Because in my next video, I'm revealing the 7 hidden signs a woman is secretly attracted to you. Some of these are so subtle that most men miss them completely. But once you spot them, you'll never look at her the same way again. So here's what I want you to do. If you found value in this, hit the like button. It helps more men find this message. Subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. And share your thoughts in the comments. What part of today's video hit you the hardest? Because this isn't just a channel. This is a community of men who want to understand women better, grow stronger, and create relationships built on real attraction, not endless chasing. And I want you to be part of it. Remember, stop chasing and start becoming. I'll see you in the next one. You've just spent the last half hour uncovering secrets about female psychology that most men will never hear. From the science of attraction, to the stories, to the myths that hold so many back. We've pulled back the curtain, but now I want to hear from you. What's the one insight that hit you hardest today? Was it the chase mechanism? The myth about constant attention? Or maybe the way dopamine and mystery keep the brain hooked? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And finally, if you're ready to join a community of men who want more than just tricks and games, men who want to understand psychology, connection, and attraction at the deepest level, then hit that subscribe button. Because together, we're not just learning about women, we're learning how to become the kind of man she never wants to lose.